A lot of the medicine we know works better in humans, and figuring out how to dose them in horses and having good success so far.
We see things and read things in human medicine, and some of us are aware that some of the equine medications were originally human medicine, but we don't, very few of us have the education and the experience together to even know where to begin to research them. And I know myself, and I'm sure Joey would agree, there's horse medications that we've used, I know that I've used incorrectly for years without knowing it. When do you think they first develop ulcers? Why? Start with preventative and then move forward from there.
Okay. So I think when we took them off the range is when they started. I mean, we've taken them so far out of their natural habitat that, it's not an if, but when and how bad, probably. And a lot of these disease states are kind of that way, unfortunately, is a lot of the times it's not if, but when and how bad. Horses meant to probably graze 16 hours a day, and then we take them out of that environment depending on situations, stick them in a stall, do this, turn them out for a couple hours. So you confine them. So the interesting thing about horses is different than humans and other animals. They're constantly producing stomach acid and bile. So that's not just like a mealtime thing, that's all the time. So if they're confined and they're not able to move around and graze and have those things, then that stomach acid can just wreak havoc.
Even if they're without forage for even as little as 4 hours, they can start having problems with stomach acid?
Yeah. We're talking liters and liters of stomach acid and bile. It's learning how to manage that the best that we can. So free choice hay is something that you always hear. We always hear that, but why? Horses actually, not like us, once again, they produce saliva when they're chewing. And so if they're not actively grazing all the time, then they're not chewing, they're not producing saliva. Well, a big part of saliva is a big buffering agent, bicarb. And so a lot of that saliva is actually buffering the stomach acid. And so if you take both of those things away, they're constantly producing bile, they're constantly producing acid, and they're not chewing and producing saliva, which is kind of their natural kind of buffering agent and able to do really what a lot of the supplements do, pH balancers, buffers. That's what saliva is doing for them. So you got squamous, and then you've got glandular, and then hindgut. So like the top third is more of your squamous, and then your bottom 2/3 of the stomach is more glandular, and then your hindgut. So like the bottom 2/3 sometimes is misunderstood as hindgut ulcers, but hindgut's really like in the colon, cecum, some way further down the line.
So
Which one's most common?
Probably squamous and glandular. So squamous is going to be sometimes, now obviously there's probably a long exhaustive list that we could go over, but kind of the splashing, so the stomach acid it's not protected by a mucosa. So like the glandular is kind of like, if you've seen a scope, like there's some scientific name, and I'm not going to pretend that I know it, but that line, there's a line of demarcation. So anything kind of below it, you can kind of see is protected by like a mucus lining. Anything above that is kind of your squamous. So like a lot of that stomach acid can splash. So performance horses that are being rode all the time, and then compound that with everything we just talked about, a lot of that can splash up, and then that's when they get that ulceration, red, irritated, angry skin. And then if there's a breakdown in the mucosa below, then you can get issues down there as well. And those are a little bit harder to treat.